We green?
We green.
All righty. Well, sounds like we're green, ladies and gentlemen. This is not the outro. This is the intro, okay?
This is not a test.
This is not a test. We're back in the building, back in the flesh, feeling good, ready to talk with you guys, ready to go over some sports. I'm glad I got my boy in the building. Hope you guys are all doing well. I'm going to have to check in on my partner right here, make sure he's doing well. You do the same, and then we're going to get right in to today's contest. So how you doing, my man? What's going on?
Man, another week in the books. Things been going well. Kicking it with the family, watching all these sports, man. A lot of stuff went down last week in the NFL. That wasn't too good for my teams. But, fantasy playoffs coming soon. Absolutely. I'm excited for that. So just ready for these playoffs. What about you?
Good, man. We had a wonderful little holiday last week. We already talked about that on the last show with my man's Eric. But, I'm still thankful for that. There was a good recoup of my energy. School's been taking a lot out of me. Internship, been doing its work as well. So always good to have a little bit of time to yourself to kind of get back on track, regain kind of the intention and the direction that I'm always looking to be headed in. Yeah. And, when I'm fatigued, it can a little blurry. So I'm ready to go. I'm glad my week is actually over. I have a bunch of homework, but in terms of actually showing up for something, my week is done. So I'm very thankful for that. But 2 papers down the drain already and 2 presentations done this week. So by no means have I been, slacking or over here lazy. But, there's more to come. So I'm going to just use tomorrow to kind of, like I said, another little mini get back for myself. And then Saturday and Sunday, it's the hunt to complete what I need. And for you guys who are aware of school or have been in it recently, we all have obviously been in school before, me in it right now. We all know that last leg is
tough,
atrocious heading into the December break, especially when they've just given you a break. So it's like, it's just this false sense of you're okay. Right. And then you come off the break, you're like, wow, I really rejuvenated myself. And they're like, good, because you're in a sprint.
Yeah.
So I can't wait to check in next week, because I think next week, by the time I'm on this show, I'll have everything done. And we'll be looking at the break legitimately at that point. But with all that said, I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you guys are feeling fine and dandy on this Thursday. I believe it is December 5th. Yep. We got a good agenda today. It's been sports, and more sports going on. A couple things are in the offseason, such as the MLB, but we still got action for you there. We got some NCAA football talk, which is somewhat of a rarity here. But we got some upcoming matchups, as well as a little bit of coaching carousels. So we don't want to give too much away, but there's something going on in there cooking. And then, of course, we always got our NBA and our NFL for you guys today. And lastly, we'll have a little Big V's talk, Valkyrie in the building, as they're getting ready for their first season. We're going to be adding them into the fold as well. So for you guys who aren't aware, that's the newest team coming to the Bay, joining the WNBA. They will be playing at Chase Center. I believe season tickets are already available. So if you guys are looking for a cheaper option than trying to go to a bunch of Warriors games, this might be the one for you. So I would take a peek. Without further ado, though, we're going to jump right in. NFL tonight, we got Thursday night football, Lions, Packers going on. Not a lot to say about it. We just want to shout it out because anytime there's live sports going on, we want to make sure you guys are aware and that we're aware. Pretty good game, though.
Yeah, back and forth. I think the Lions just took the lead, so I think it's 24-21 now.
Yep.
But it's been back and forth. The second half has been a lot more exciting than the first half.
Sure. Very slow first half.
Yeah.
Both of these teams are playing very well this year. I believe 11-1 maybe.
11-1 for the Lions,
9-3
for the Packers. Yeah.
So that's pretty rare to have 2 teams in the same division chomping at the bit like that. But me being an avid to the whole NFC North over there, it's a shock for me to see this. But congrats to them. We'll see. I think this game pretty much will dictate that division. One of the stronger divisions.
It's 11-1 for the Lions,
right.
10-2 for the Vikings,
Minnesota, right there,
and then Green Bay 9-3,
right.
Chicago 4-8, unfortunately for them.
Right, and they've lost a lot of close ones too. It's been kind of crazy. So that division's been really strong. So, yeah, actually maybe it won't quite settle it yet because I believe Minnesota still has a shot to play Detroit one more time.
Yeah.
And I do know that this is the last game between the Packers and the Lions, which the Lions already won the first one.
Right.
So that would definitely kind of solidify them in terms of hopping over the Packers at this point. But Mitch is right. Minnesota's still out there lurking. So
Sam Darnold slinging that thing.
Somehow, some way.
Justin Jefferson.
Somehow,
Jordan
some way.
Addison. T.J. Hockenson. Jalen Naylor. They got everybody over there.
Yeah, they got some boys. And really, to me, it's the defense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the offense has been all right this year. Jay Jettas, we've seen a little bit of him, but, it's clear he still doesn't have that rapport like he did with Cousins.
Yeah.
And that matters the most as your top tier receiver. Everybody else is going to get a little something because they're always used to getting a little something.
Right.
But when it's that top tier, I usually get, 10 to 15 targets a game. That whole connection thing can play a real big key
for sure.
and kind of dwindling his stats down. But that defense has been something else. Like even when we played them early in this season, that's all I remember thinking because I thought we were going to blow them out. I mean, everybody did when we came into that game was just like, oh, Sam Darnold's back. We're going to smack them. We were obviously short of CMC, but man, like that defense, I could tell right away. It was super early in the season. It was just like, yeah, they're hitting. That team looks ready. Yeah. They held us, I think, to 17 points, and they just have not cooled off since. So glad we got to bring them into the fold. Shout out to you little Minnesota fans.
Cal alum, Cameron Bynum. Strong safety for out there, killing it.
One day we're just going to have to, highlight all the Cal athletes who are in professional sports because I will say I do believe Cal doesn't get enough credit for just the amount of top-tier athletes they put into the leagues. And I mean leagues, not just one league, leagues. And when I say putting into the league too, I don't just mean like, let me just get a shot. Let me just get like my foot in the water for a second. I'm jumping right back up. They're coming in. They're taking a spot. They're playing hard. And at one point we've had, especially in the NFL, we had all the top skill positions. We had the number one. So we'll get into that at another point. We should do a highlight at some point, a Cal special, where we just kind of go over some of the great players and also some of the great moments because Mitch and I have actually seen a lot, right? And so it would be dope to kind of go back over the history books. Some of those teams, man, you guys would want to have seen that.
Right, yeah.
So we should probably bring that to you guys at some point. We'll figure it out.
Get some highlights for the green screen.
Yeah, exactly. Handing it off to a little sadder subject as it has been for the last couple of weeks. For those of you who are with the Silver and Black, my boy's always going to hold you guys down. But it's been tough lately.
Yeah, man. Just miscues in that last game when we made a drive to potentially beat the Chiefs, give them another loss. Just something in the water, I guess, in the Gatorade coolers, just not mixing well for us because we couldn't even snap the ball correctly.
Right.
We just had miscommunication. We have young guys on the line, quarterback who's in his second year, who's probably going to be more of a backup his whole career.
Yes.
So it was nice to see him be able to get a few touchdowns and have a little bit of success, but tough to see it in that way. But that's just how this season's going. 2-10 now, not looking good. You got the Buccaneers next, and then the Falcons. Two tough teams, two teams that are vying for spots to try and get into the playoffs. So we've lost 8 straight.
Yikes!
Why not lose some more so that we can get a top pick? I mean, what really do we need? We've talked about this all season. Everybody on TV's talked about this all season. We need a quarterback. We missed out this past year on guys like Justin Fields, Jaden Daniels, as you can see for the Commanders.
Man.
But we need to find somebody. Michael Penix, we got lapped up for him as well.
Easy.
Even Bo Nix, how he's been performing over the last few weeks. So it's very unfortunate to see how this season has gone and how it's like really demoralized not only like the fans but the players especially. Yeah. Where it's like, hey, you guys really honestly just need to make one move as a front office, which was get a quarterback, and you guys couldn't do it. And it's a little offsetting, like we're going to talk about later for the A's, but why next year is it going to be the right time? It's like it feels like it's too late, and now you're going to bring a quarterback into a situation that's even worse than it was before, even when you had good players. So, things not looking that good. Front office needs to figure it out. They need to know Are we going to get rid of guys like Max Crosby?
Right.
Are we going to try and do a rebuild and get some new blood in there? Is Antonio Pierce, are they going to give him another chance next season?
I hope so.
To be a coach for us. There's just a lot of questions and just not a lot of hope for these last few games. The guys out there just look like uninterested
completely.
And they've given up on the season because I feel like that's how a lot of fans feel, where you guys didn't make the moves you needed to, and now we're just stuck like in the same repetitive kind of losing situation that we've been in for a long time.
Yeah. And then I also think, I mean, I'd love to hear your opinion. How do you think the DA trade affected the morale? Because I feel like it just really took a weird turn. Not that you guys weren't already losing, but like the vibe, the energy of the truly I don't care.
I mean, you lose a guy who's that good, who has that pedigree. It's obviously going to hurt the team, especially a team that really doesn't have any leaders on the offensive side. Don't really have very many veterans that really know much about the league or can talk about success that they've had. So it makes it tough when a leader and somebody who's a veteran leaves the locker room. Then it just leaves everything in flux. Who's going to get the power? Who wants to listen to anybody when the team's losing 8 in a row?
Yeah. It's
kind of just everybody on their own island, just trying to make sure that they can prepare for next year. Like if they need a new contract or something, just playing for themselves. So that's what makes the games kind of rough to watch because there's really no cohesiveness.
Right. And I think you also said it really well on one of our past shows where you just said, you know, at a certain point, winning isn't even the main thing on the table when an organization isn't trying, right? Like when you see somebody destroying the goods of their own organization, like the way they spoke of DA, I think also soured a lot of players, right? Where it's like, this dude did nothing but come over here and give 1,000-yard seasons and try his best, even when he was scoring very few touchdowns because you guys weren't that frequently in the red zone. And now it's all of a sudden his burden to bear.
Yeah.
When it's like he asked for a new situation. And then also the turnaround, how the organization, instead of just keeping things under wrap, you know, coming out, like you said, and be, we'll take a second or something. You know, I mean, what that says about an all-pro, a perennial all-pro is like, if I'm Max Crosby, I'm like, oh, you're not going to respect my value.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And it's scary to think about playing for a team that can't recoup its value.
Yeah.
How do you rebuild if you can't do that?
Making all the wrong moves.
Right. So, you know, prayers up. I mean, in my opinion, what do you think about Pierce? That'd be my last question. Do you bring him back? You run him back? Or do you think everything's just too far gone? You got to clean this up?
I mean, yeah, that's really tough. I feel like he has the, approval of the locker room. But again, your team is 2-10.
Right.
Maybe some of the decisions get questioned a little more. Maybe it's critiqued a little bit tighter because they're resulting in a lot of losses. But again, there's games where we're staying close, but then things collapse because we can't score and we can't keep up with anybody.
Right.
So we're forcing our defense just to be out there the whole time.
Yep.
And that's never good because the defense is going to get run down over time. So I hope he can continue to be a guy that the front office and the players believe in,
right?
Because that's what it's going to take for the whole franchise to turn around. Is
100%.
You need guys in the front office and in the coaching staff that guys believe in, and you need those guys in the front office to be giving you quality players to work with.
Yep. And I hope they let him have some influence on the draft.
Mm.
I mean, from what we've seen from this front office, it's like, what are you guys looking at? You know, and Antonio Pierce knows ball. You know what I mean? And so if you really feel like he has the locker, if you really that's what I believe a true organization does when they're ready to turn it around, is they really give somebody the keys, right? Like the Lions did, and they go, look, we might be but for a second, but we believe in your direction, and we're going to let your influence play out in the long run. We trust that. And the Raiders have never, I mean, some of those coaches I don't think deserved it, but they've never really given enough leeway to ever really feel like there's a consistency in the model of how they draft. Like if you're changing every year whose approach it is, got to be hard to draft.
Yeah.
You know, so pick a guy, figure out what offense you guys want to run, figure out your defensive approach, and start filling that out. That's an identity, right? So next we'll jump over to the Niners.
Woo!
We're getting cooked too, man. We're getting cooked, man.
Rough out here in the Bay.
We out here getting cooked. It's been a while since I've said that, man. And honestly, to be real, I know we got some faithful in the house, probably feeling some type of way about, how I'm approaching this. But for me, like, I'm such a diehard, I'm not going anywhere, that I have no problem talking about them how I talk about them. Because it's like, I'm not going nowhere. So I'm not tripping. But, like, I don't expect to win right now. So I hope y'all don't walk into these games thinking, that. Because this team is potentially actually cursed right now. And you don't get to a point where we've seen what we've seen without starting to believe in some of the karma that this team has started to incur. And there was a lot of offseason talk. There was a lot of I'm bigger than the team. There was a lot of how could we have got shorted from the Super Bowl because we just ball, right? We don't want to. I appreciate you. I don't want to hear it, right? So I'm going to get the appreciation out the way, and then we'll just jump to the real. I don't care. I went through the pain of losing those too, okay? So we wanted y'all to win 100%, and to be honest, that roster, we still don't know how you lost. So when you're coming in, and this is the biggest part that I really think was talked about a little bit, but not enough, was that this Super Bowl hangover was going to be bigger than any we had potentially seen since, like, the Bills, right? When the Bills were going on all those runs. And I'm not talking about the Josh Allen Bills. We're talking about the 3 Super Bowls, 0-win Bills.
Yeah.
Okay? Those guys' hearts. Have you seen interviews with Jim Kelly? The man is a pained man.
He's hurting.
He's lived a life of pain, and I'm sure now he's, worked through it and gotten to a blissful place in life. But
no, I don't think so.
But his football memories are tough, okay? And he is a Hall of Famer, which I feel like is so interesting that it's like, man, I wonder if they put that on your, like, you reached the Super Bowl 3 times.
The John Stockton of football, Got to the finals so many times.
We know you're good, just not good enough, But, yeah, so when you look at this kind of situation, I just felt like we would have to play perfect, and I truly felt like we would have had to inject some new blood besides these rookies, because the rookies are playing great. But I believe we needed to make a bigger splash this offseason. And without some new blood, some new invigoration, I don't know how this same group of guys climbs that mountain again. Okay? And we did it in a way that has been excruciating for the players. A lot of times we start slow and we require almost perfect runs down the stretch. And it requires everything to just fall right in place. And between coaching, injuries, all those other things, we don't have any leeway. Never. And so it's stressful, right? On all the players, on all the fans. And when I look at what's happened this year, I feel like nobody talked about just the strain on all these folks' bodies and how mentally nobody showed up this year.
Yeah.
And all the talk about we good. That's what you got to say. You have to say that. Is that what you really felt? Absolutely not. You guys were all hurt. You guys, Shanahan ain't looked the same. He has no confidence in the way he's calling plays. And I've never thought I would say this in my life. He's got to give it up. He can maintain as the head coach, and he may eventually get play calling back. Okay? But he's at a point right now where he is mismanaging so many other things that I don't care about your play calling. And it's not even that great right now.
Play calling timeout.
Yeah. Get back to coaching. Coaching the whole team. That means offense, defense, special teams. We've been one of the worst special teams in the league this year. In the league. And we are somehow went from being the top red zone offense to bottom 3. But we get to the red zone just as frequently. That's play calling. That's play calling. You're getting there and you can't finish the job. Make the right. I'm watching the plays we're calling. We don't want to get in that end zone. We don't want that. We're ready to kick. And we killed about 4 kickers this year.
Yeah, for real.
I mean,
carousel of kickers.
They are dead men walking out there trying to kick the ball for us, right? And part of that is because we're kicking 1,000 times a game. But another piece of that is this has been that kind of season. I mean, when you're going on a 4-string kicker, that's not even possible. There are guys getting calls who didn't even realize they were still eligible to be kicking.
Right.
They're like, I haven't used this leg but for nothing but a walk, So, this is all just a very, very long-winded way of saying, to me, this season is done, right? And we should be focused on the draft. And we draft well, right? So we need to be focused on recouping what we can. We have some big decisions this offseason. I think it's time to cut Javon Hargraves. That is heartbreaking to hear. Heartbreaking. But he ain't done enough, right? He came over, and he's been on a big contract. And that first year, he was all right. He was trying to figure out the defense, But even we saw in the Super Bowl, it was like, man, you're not making a difference, right? This is not a Chris Jones, right? But he didn't look like what we were expecting from the Eagles. And then this year he gets injured week 2, out for the season. We can't pay that money. Sad to say, and so I do think that, it may be a blessing in disguise, but I think Debo may be gone as well. And I think a lot of people will be absolutely angry at me for that, but we're not getting rid of Ayuk.
No? Ayuk over Debo?
He has no leg, so nobody's taking Ayuk, okay? That's a one-legged duck right now.
You can say that about Debo.
Nah, Debo's. Debo's playing every game, but the reality is both of them will be healthy by next season. And with the way we drafted this last year, it says we're getting rid of one of them. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if y'all noticed, but we just re-signed Juwan Jennings.
Third and Juwan, keep him coming.
Love Juwan, but what does that say? What does that say? Like, that's the big body. We got the downfield threat, and who are the 2 guys we drafted? Ricky Run, who is known for his versatility, ability to line up anywhere, and he can rush a little.
Mm-hmm. He can take a shot.
And then Jacob Cowling, who's our special teams specialist, lightning speed. He's good on the reverses and can take the ball as well in the short, kind of slotty type routes. That, to me, seems like they drafted 2 guys to combine to potentially take the role of Debo next year. Mm-hmm. I don't think that they're imagining it would be a one-guy thing, and I'm glad. Because Debo is a rare talent, but it's also, to me, very clear we've overused him, and this is the results. And so
everybody at this point.
Yeah, you got to just shut it down. We've had so many long seasons back to back to back, where it's like these guys have played till whenever. At this point, I think it's done. Let me see who we play next. That's how I'm actually out of the loop right now.
Don't even know who playing.
Don't even know. Like, we 5-7, and like we literally still could make the playoffs. Our division is disgusting, but I don't even know if I'm ready for that. You know what I mean? Because anyway, we'll go into that at another point as the season progresses.
If it even starts to look like that a little more,
right? And we did go on an ice cold, all that I'm gonna say is these games that we've lost.
Don't lose to the Bears.
Bro, I can't be watching that.
Don't lose to the Bears.
But this home stretch is no joke. This home stretch is no joke. Where it's like Rams,
Dolphins.
We could kick the Dolphins, but the Lions.
Cardinals.
Lions.
Lions. One game. Okay.
Lions and Cardinals is top in our division right now.
Okay, you just said the division, but
it is though. It is, but I'm just saying, like, that this is a winning team. They beat a lot of decent teams this year. Let me look at who they beat.
Before they lost to a lot of teams too.
No.
I feel like they lost to the Broncos.
Well, the Broncos are what, 9-3? 10-2? Yeah, no, the Broncos are cooking.
Broncos is cooking like that. 8-5 Broncos.
Yeah, so they just lost, but they were going in last week. They were 8-4.
Broncos. That's good because they get to play the Raiders twice.
Yeah, Arizona barely lost to the Bills. They whooped the Rams. Barely lost to the Lions. Got scraped somehow by the Commanders. Beat us.
Ooh.
Scraped by the Packers, beat the Chargers, beat the Dollies, beat the Bears, beat the Jets, lost to the CCs.
Lost to the Vikings.
And by 1, lost to the Vikes. So, pretty strong team, but again, we'll see. So, that was long, I know. But, I got to keep something going, and I got to be real. I think a lot of this season I've been, kind of lollygagging around the real point. And the real thing is now that C-Mac has gone down for this injury, it's time to be realistic. Mm-hmm. Shut it down. Okay? Yeah. Shut it down. Next, we're going to move on to the NBA. We got our good old Warriors, the Dubs.
Our boys.
And as much as we've hyped them up, it's time to bring them back down. So, Warriors falling off big time.
12-8.
All the things we've talked about coming back to bite us right in the rear end.
I mean, we've seen it coming.
Why don't you go into a little bit of what's going on and what you're seeing?
I mean, it's really nothing different from what we've been talking about for the last few episodes. I mean, everything's regressing. You know, the strength in numbers is not holding up. You know, guys like DeAnthony Melton and
crazy.
Who else we got? Kyle Anderson are not David West, Sean Livingston type of guys for us. They're not stepping up as much as maybe we need them to, and we shouldn't really expect. Yeah, we shouldn't really expect that from them, like as good as those guys. But we did need a little more than like you said, out for the season, and then just slow-mo playing like about 12, 15 minutes a game.
Yeah, and I'm pissed at Kerr for that.
Yeah. I just am seeing us really showing that the guys that we've needed to step up are just not those guys as of yet. Not saying that they can't be. They're still very, very young. But if we want to extend Steph for the next few years as a contender, I think it's what we've been talking about. We need to make a move.
Yep.
I think it's been kind of long enough with this stretch of like 6 straight losses.
I think it's 5.
Is it 5? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 5 straight losses.
5.
I think it's just really shown our lack of, we have a lot of guys, but a lot of lack of consistency in that depth. We have a lack of height as well, which hurts us a lot, and we have a lack of really a solid second scorer. I mean, having Andrew Wiggins score 17 is cool in terms of seeing somebody be a successful NBA player.
Yeah.
But for what our team needs, we need somebody to back up Steph. Steph is no longer scoring 28, 29 a game. He's done about 22 points a game. I think we need about 1 or 2 other guys who are pushing the 20-point line for our team to be more successful. I think we need guys who can take the ball into their own hands, like Andrew Wiggins or a big wing that can actually make moves to the basket and make passes out from driving and causing the defense to collapse. It's rough out here. We've talked about the lack of 3-point consistency moving forward. We knew it was going to go down after shooting such a high percentage. Turnovers and free throw percentage have been killing us this whole season. And like you said last episode, it's not just turnovers in general. It's the timely turnovers that have been killing us. Every time it's been coming down to late game, we have been coughing up the ball, not being secure with it. Really in the clutch moments when we need to be scoring and stop another team to make a run to come back because we're down by 5 or 6 points. That's the biggest thing. Buddy Hield is not as consistent as he showed from the very beginning. I guess it really shows he is very much a roller coaster type player.
Absolutely.
You have a good time when you're shooting well, but then it can also be I have a lot of 1 of 5, 1 of 8 nights. So that seems to be happening more and more as we move forward throughout the season. So I think it's really time for us to at least be considering what we want to do. Do we want to go for a big splash and get rid of, a lot of our depth and a lot of the people that we have on our team? Or are we going to make a little bit smaller move where we only move about 2 or 3 guys and some picks and we get, maybe some lesser names? Just get a couple guys who could be just a little bit better rotation players than the guys we might have on the bench. We can have another 6-man or somebody else who's a star player, an all-star caliber, who can play a small forward position or a big man position.
Yeah, just some size.
Yeah.
Good Lord. Trade me a 7-footer. Yeah, I mean, you highlighted all the good points. I would say my top 3 issues right now, second score is number 1.
Yeah.
We need one or figure it out in the pecking order. Number 2 would be this rotation is not it. Because speaking of what he's saying, I truly believe some of these guys have fallen off, but I also believe Steve Kerr is not letting them get into the flow of things. The way he's pitching and patching this stuff together, this is not conducive to shooters.
Yeah.
Right? And so a lot of attention is coming to the fact that none of these guys really feel like they can get warm. Get warmed up and have those games where they know, okay, if I do this, I will extend my minutes. I think a lot of players are confused as to What would it take to play more than 22 minutes?
Yeah.
And in the NBA, it sounds good, right? And maybe down the road, when we start dealing with certain injuries, things like that, we can fall back into our depth, right? But I think right now, we don't even know our starting five.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, the second biggest issue is, Steve Kerr, you got to work out these rotations. You got to cut this number down. 10 a night, 11 when Stephen Curry's playing. Man, get this number to 9 or less. And really, I hope we have a stretch, at least for a bit, where it's 3 off the bench.
Yeah, for real.
Take 8, a strong 8. Let's figure it out, because I feel like the team, Moses Moody's kind of worded it best. I don't know what I got to do to do what I want to do. And I think they all feel that way. And at one point, like we've talked about, that was a strength. And now none of them know what they're doing, so it's clearly a weakness. Steve Kerr, please take heed. Shorten that. Let people start getting the feel for it. And then my last big thing would be, this free throw percentage cannot be real. This cannot be real. I can't be. We had a whole highlight. There's even a short right now on our channel about the how many moments we had dealing with your free throw percentages. We right now are shooting 3 for 8. It's not even halftime. That's 37.5%. What? Bro, that passes nowhere. 37.5% is an F across the board, period. I don't care what you're involved in. You get a 37.5 is done. You need to go home and apologize. Okay? This is what you're giving me. And let me just talk about who's shooting these things. Wiggins, 2 for 4. Doggy. This can't be a whole career thing, right? You're now 30. You in the gym. We got Steph Curry. Get right. Steve Kerr shot 90% from the free throw line.
Mm-hmm.
Don't tell me you forgot how to teach this stuff. Okay? Brendan Pajemski, did you leave your jumper in Santa Clara? Because I heard you did some offseason workouts there. Somebody took the juice. I don't know if you put your bag down and somebody got into it, or if you just completely had some mysterious accident that you're not willing to tell us all, but you can't shoot. Okay? And last year you were high 30 clip from the 3, and your free throw percentage was respectable.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? It wasn't like you were conquering lands with your free throw percentage, but it was respectable. You're giving me a 1 for 2 tonight. And here's where I really want to have a conversation with you. Moses Moody. Why are you 0 for 2 on free throws? Yeah, that's not a huge sample size, right? Yeah, that's just before halftime. Yeah. Has anybody seen Moses Moody shoot? It's pretty good. It's pretty pure form. What?
0 for.
My goodness.
It's cold out there. Those were his first shots of the day.
And we're up 5 right now with those kind of numbers. And this is just kind of we'll see how this ends up playing out. But, man, this is the story of the season, man. We really have the hoopers to play well. And I do believe that at some point we got to look back at Steve Kerr.
Mm-hmm.
And just go, we can't be in all these games. We can't never be getting blown out and not be finishing some of these things off.
Yeah.
And when it comes,
a lot of the games that we end up losing.
And they all come down to turnovers and free throws. Mm-hmm. And it's like, if we're going to be the worst at both of those, what's the point of being in close games?
You're essentially not.
Exactly. They already know they want it. They're like, oh, we're down here. We're okay, good. No worries. We'll just do 1-for-1s. Right now, we're also playing Houston. That is kind of what we're going off of when we're taking quick peeks. Those were the stats we're giving you. Mm-hmm. Wanted to make sure you guys know that. As we said, live sports will be highlighted, even if we're not giving you guys full-on coverage. Lastly, I wanted to touch on 2 different points that have nothing to do with the Warriors.
Okay.
LA Lakers are struggling too. Mm-hmm. I want to give you this question. Is this LeBron's last year?
Oh, in general?
Yeah, I mean, seriously.
General. Oh, yeah, I mean, I think this might lead up to a perfect little situation when we get rid of Kuminga and Moody and we just get that and Pajemski and some draft picks and we have LeBron. Hey, you and Steph can finish out your careers, play 2 or 3 more seasons out here in the Bay, make that happen. Nah, but for real, I mean, maybe it is the way the team's playing and how much he's still relied upon. I don't know how much he's willing to want to continue to push himself this much. I'm always going to appreciate watching him
Straight up.
continuing to do amazing things out there.
Yeah.
I know he's still leading the league in so many categories, or at least top 10 in many categories.
Yep.
But to be in 20-plus seasons is just ridiculous. Dude is goated. Can't take it away from him, but it does suck to see him always have to struggle with the Lakers team. It has not always been a smooth ride, even with winning a bubble championship. Other than that, it's like nothing has gone that well. AD's been in and out for him this whole time. The rest of the team has been up and down. It's been a roller coaster for him the whole time. I hope it's not his last season, but would totally understand if he decided to hang it up. But I would be ecstatic if he was like, yeah, let's
slide on down.
Let me just play with Steph then. I'll come over there in the Bay and be with the best shooter.
Yeah. I mean, you're spot on. I mean, I guess my one question that I would ask back as a secondary little placement to you would be, could we see LeBron leave without having a farewell tour, though? Like, would that even, like, what do you think if it were to be a last? Like, does that automatically make it to where this one can't be his last year? That's the best way.
Yeah. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. Like, he's not the type to not self-announce these type of things. I mean, his whole career, he's been, all right, let me be the one to say something, or now I'll say something.
Taking my talents to South
right?
Beach.
You know, he has a whole barbershop show, so he can talk about himself too. Like, he has to. It seems like, you know, the whole Jordan shadow has always been casted over him, and it seems like he's always like Jordan says, I took that personal.
Yes,
and I think he has definitely taken that personal his whole career, and that's why I feel like more than ever, I feel like I've heard him be like, "Yo, I'm the greatest," or you know, he has that quote from his show where he's like, "That's when I knew I was the greatest," or something like that. Mm-hmm. It's like he really has to tell everybody, because I don't think he feels like enough people say it. Yeah. So he's just like, no, I'm saying it, I am. Right. I'll leave the stamp. So yeah, for him, I feel like he is going to need a farewell tour. I think this year he was maybe hoping that Bronny might be able to step up a little more than he did, but that cannot be very fun to have to deal with. Like, basically your son getting cooked. You know, like, you're going to G League games to go watch them. It's like, I mean, it doesn't even feel like a supportive dad anymore. Right. It's just like, Brad, I don't even know if he wants to be out there hooping anymore.
You're killing the lineage, son.
But just to go back to your original question, you know, I don't think, like you said, I don't think it's going to be his last year, because he needs a farewell tour. Yeah.
I think the only reason I asked is if you guys have seen any of his interviews lately, he's been crashing out. Him and JJ have both just been crashing out. And it just makes me wonder, like, especially when he said he plans to play all 82. I'm like, for what? You know, like, what? What do you say?
Get the numbers up so nobody's ever passing them.
Yeah, I guess so. But I'm like,
the stats, baby.
I'm like, you must have just got one of those new machines at the house. And they're like, yeah, it's good. Let me test this out. So anyway, for all you Lakers fans in La La Land, it's looking pretty cooked. It's looking pretty cooked. We can say that you guys got lucky to get Connect 4, and that's about it. There's nothing really else to talk about. Everybody else on that team, like he said, is just the rest of the team. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to go on to the last subject that is NBA relevant and has nothing to do with the Warriors, which is John Morant has come out and said he does not plan to dunk anymore if he can. He plans to, I mean, obviously I presume he will still dunk when he needs to, but he has said he plans to try to remove it from his game as much as possible due to injuries. What do you think about this? Do you think more players should adapt that? Or do you think this is something where it's just like, because I saw basically on the Jeff Teague podcast, the 520 podcast, they were saying, well, that's Mike Conley. So, like, apparently Mike Conley has super bounce and was fast in his prime and just never cared and never wanted to do that. And Teague was like, yeah, I mean, that's why he's still out there and I'm over here on the couch, is because, like, if I saw an opening, I'm trying to bop on you. Right? And so I thought it just brought an interesting point. You're a hooper as well, so I just wanted to get your take. What do you think about that?
Well, Jeff Teague, Russell Westbrook is still in the league, and he's doing that the whole time. So I don't really know what you're talking about, but yeah, I mean, you're on there because you're choosing to be there. You know, you could probably still be on the team, but you know, you're doing your thing for podcasting.
Yes,
so understandably, why you're not choosing to be on the bench for a team,
right? And the back of the bench,
right? Yeah. I'm sure he'd want to play more than that.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. It's just it's tough.
It is.
It's tough. I mean, what was the original question? Sorry.
I was just saying, like, do you even agree? Like, what do you think? Like, because there's going to be a big impact on that if it does take. Like, let's say that becomes influential.
I just don't even get what the point of like him saying that is. Like, what do you mean you're gonna stop? Why do you need to announce that? Like, who? Oh no! Like
now that's
Ja Morant's not dunk. Like, what? You're not gonna dunk anymore? Like, yeah,
I do like that.
You're gonna dunk at some point when you need to, but I understand what you're saying. But who cares? Like, what do you just do what you do, keep scoring, and if you dunk less, maybe we'll say something. But I mean, if you're still scoring and doing your thing, nobody's gonna care whether you're dunking or not.
Right.
So
we just want to see who.
Yeah. So I'm neither here nor there with that comment. Feels like just something for like a daily news spin because there's nothing else to talk about in Memphis. It's like
yeah.
Ja Morant. We need to make something like wild about him because he used to play with guns and stuff.
Right now he's not doing.
Now he's hella boring. So let's have him. What else can we say, or what else can he say to be relevant right now? So just go win. Go play ball. That's what you were doing before. Nobody was like tripping that you were doing all your antics because you were winning. Now you're kind of mediocre while you're playing, and you feel like you got to say something now to be seen. Like no, just go hoop and win. That's what you do. That's
a fact. My bad. I'm plugging my boy's charger back in. I see his screen keeps dying. We can't be having it. That's a great point. I love that he brought up the attention part of that because I think that that's a big piece. I will say he was getting asked about the dunk contest. So that's kind of where it came from. But I love what you said about like, because even still being asked about that, you could just still say, I'm not planning to be in the dunk contest. You don't have to then go into this whole like, hey, truth be told, I'm not even trying to dunk anymore and da-da-da-da-da. So I totally feel you, and I think we'll just leave it there.
I also just don't know with all the dunk contest questions and stuff like that. Like, I don't know when it became such an issue to be able to jump. And like I get it, it's a lot on the body. Like I understand that, but to feel like because you did a dunk contest, now your knees are messed. Don't you do that every day in practice? And like I don't understand where like the best players didn't want to go dunk because they're good at it. Like, I don't want to get beat, but there was only one person ever wins. Yeah. So like everybody has lost that. I think only a few players have been, I won every single time. Right. Even Aaron Gordon got, beat, shifted out of his crown. So, I mean, we want to see the best players. We don't want to see Joe Blow. If that's the case and we're seeing bench players and rotation players doing the dunk contest, there's better people.
Bring the real dunkers.
Yeah, there's better people who dunk on a daily basis than the guys that we've seen over the last couple of years. So bring them in at the end of the day. Like, people just want to see dope dunks. And we know that the best players in the league can jump and can dunk very well.
Yep.
So that's why you're asked all the time.
Right. And let's be honest. What do we know you for? Like, John, what highlights do I watch of yours? The jumper ones? The ones where you're crossing people over?
And mind you, he doesn't even have to stop dunking. It's like, bruh, stop going up and being, say the rim's right here and like trying to dunk from way out here on somebody and then falling to the ground hella hard. It's like, no, you need to stop doing that stupid stuff as if you can literally jump from the free throw line to dunk the ball on a 7-footer in a game. Like, no, bruh. You're going after some ridiculous dunks that you're not even close to making. And that's where you're getting hurt. Right. Not when you go up for a good dunk.
Right.
So, it's,
Yeah, no, it's real. So I hope, Ja, you're listening. I hope everybody's listening, and we're going to leave it there. A good point is a good point. And so nothing further needs to be said. MLB free agency is what we have next. Ooh. We have just in general, Mitch is going to give you guys a little lay of the land, who's out there, who might get snagged up. And then also we do have a red alert, or should I say a green and gold alert. Very shocking. Special free agent signing has occurred, which we're not familiar with ever happening. So he'll definitely have to cover that. I'm going to let him get right into it now.
Yeah, we're just going to go around the diamond to the different positions. We got a bunch of guys in free agency that could be in new places, But I do see a lot of guys that probably will be getting re-signed by the teams that they're currently on. Starting with the catcher behind the plate, we got guys like Travis d'Arnaud and Gary Sanchez looking to find new teams.
Wow, okay.
See what they're going to go do. First base, we got some key names. Christian Walker from the Diamondbacks.
Ooh, he's a baller.
Is out there. Pete Alonso is another big bat that who knows if he's going to stay in New York with the Mets. They do have a promising team, so we'll see if they'll shell out the cash for him.
Why leave now?
Carlos Santana, savvy veteran. He's always been solid. A guy like Justin Turner, always been a career hitter.
Mr. Reliable.
And then another professional hitter and Paul Goldschmidt, first base.
Man, that's all free agents? Wow.
Yeah. They've had a couple of down years, some of these guys, but they have been top hitters in the league, MVP type guys. So they could be solid making a move to one of your teams, potentially. Second base, you got a guy from the New York Yankees, Gleyber Torres, who was killing it for them. He's on free agency. And then Nicky Lopez, another good second baseman.
Yep.
Not too many other ones in the second base spot, but those are two key names.
Yep.
Shortstop, we got Ha-Seong Kim. See if the Padres will resign him. And then as well as Willie Adames, who had a great season for the Brewers. Will he be somebody who's on the move because he's a good shortstop? And I know, like a team like the Giants could use it. Guy. Real quick, shout out to the Giants. Brandon Crawford finally announced his retirement. Great player, multiple World Series, multiple Gold Gloves. Great player for the Giants. And
hometown
hero. Went to Foothill High School out here in Pleasanton. So
what a dream.
Great player. Sad to see him leave, but shouts out to you, man, for a great career. As we move on to third base, we got guys like Yohan Moncada.
Wow.
Gio Urshela, who's somebody who in the past has shown some signs, but maybe he can refresh and regain his confidence on a new team. And then the big name who might most likely resign is Alex Bregman from the Astros. Yeah. We'll see if that organization decides to switch things up and
World Series
shake things up and make some moves because, they have a lot of their guys who they've had throughout their whole careers still playing on that team.
Yeah.
And then in the outfield, we got guys like Tyler O'Neill, who was very good for the Red Sox. Alex Verdugo for the Yankees. See if they can resign him.
Like him a lot.
Anthony Santander for the Orioles, who had a great season, one of the best
of them
for the switch hitters.
40-plus bombs, right?
Yeah, 40-plus bombs.
Jeez.
Teoscar Hernandez for the Dodgers.
Also
will they
a baller.
Resign him? Another good baller. Jerkson Profar for the Padres. Will they bring him back?
He's been
big
balling.
names from the outfield.
Dang.
And that just takes us to the cream of the crop. We all know who it is. The boy Juan Soto. Breaking it down, he's got his last couple teams that he's considering: the Yankees, the Mets, the Red Sox, the Blue Jays, and the Dodgers. Where will he go? What's going to be his, big things that he's going to choose or to decide to where he wants to go? Is it going to be a move to the dominant Dodgers and just become like the dark side?
The empire.
Evil empire over there, the Dodgers. Go from the Yankees to the Dodgers. That'd be on like some KD stuff right there. But I mean, maybe just re-sign with the Yankees. He'll be loyal to the New York boys. We don't know, but we'll see. Those are the big names out there, and that just takes a.
I'm hearing $750 million.
Oh yeah, he wants big money, and the way that, like you said last time, the way the Dodgers are deferring money, they can figure it out. They still got room.
They got over $1 billion. It just came out. They have over $1 billion deferred.
Yeah. They're going to be spending money for a long time. And then that just moves me on to the lowly A's. They have made a move in free agency for the first time since Vietnam. They went out and decided to get Luis Severino, 3 years, $67 million. Most we've given to anybody since Eric Chavez. And that was on a 6-year deal.
In 04.
I don't understand how over these years we've had solid teams, playoff teams, and we haven't made any moves like this, not even close.
Or even re-sign those guys.
Or even resigning those guys. So to make this move is just very curious to what's going on with the ownership, with the front office. You guys are going to be in Sacramento the next 3 years. I'm surprised on both sides that the A's would go and be able to get somebody like that. and then that Luis Severino would want to come to the A's. Maybe he felt like nobody else was going to give him $22 million, and so he was like, "Yeah, run it for 3 years is good." But maybe he just was like, "Let me just set up my residency for Las Vegas in a few years.
Yeah,
I'll just be there chilling."
Yeah,
but I don't know. It's unprecedented by the A's, and just curious by Luis Severino. We'll see how it goes. I mean, the rotation is basically him and JP Sears. So
yeah. Who is a baller?
Yeah. JP Sears is a baller, and then we got
you guys have a couple
Miller.
Luis Medina
is solid.
He's nice.
Mitch Spence, Joey Estes.
Yeah.
But it's just like a lot of unknowns as of right now. So it's like, what were you thinking, Severino, in terms of like, yeah, this is a team that I think I can really help out, or was this just like, let me get this quick money grab? Yeah.
Right. From what I've heard, that he could have got this money anywhere, which makes it very interesting. Because there's the guy Kikuchi or whatever, who got, I think, $1 million more or maybe $1 million less. But like they were looking at similar deals for how they played out last year. So from what I heard, and I find this very, very interesting. Apparently, he likes the young pitchers, and so he wanted to lead the staff.
Okay.
And apparently the A's are selling this rotation as the reason that they improved, I think, 19 or 20 games last year from the previous season. And I could see it. I mean, you're not going to sell the offense. Right. You know what I mean? So, Lawrence Butler, I think, is a baller, and I think Rooker is a baller.
Rooker is a beast.
But other than that, like, you're not going to tell me that they were like
Shea Langoliers.
Baller. You're not going to tell me those guys were winning games in comparison to, like, the pitching did have an all-star. It had the closer, right? Yeah. They did have some strengths there. So that's just what I'm hearing. But it'll be interesting to see how it goes. My shock, just like you're saying, is more like, has he been to the stadium? Like, has he been to SAC? Have you seen what you're going to go?
Maybe he just doesn't want the bright lights. Maybe he just wants to go somewhere, help some young guys learn how to pitch a little bit better. Yeah. Maybe refine his game and maybe have a back end where he's helping another team and he gets traded from doing good with the A's. I think maybe the A's are just like, let's try and ramp up and show other players that we're willing to shell out some money, especially since now we got approved for our stadium and leases and everything for the next 30 years in Las Vegas, which was the biggest hurdle that they were going through to finalize things.
$1.75 billion.
$1.75 billion. So they're making it happen. And after 3 years in Sacramento, they will be moving to Las Vegas. So maybe they're just trying to ramp up and show, hey, we're going to start building and we're going to have an amazing facility over there in Las Vegas. So let's start bringing in some better guys, and maybe you'll return as free agents, and we'll be able to shell out some money finally.
So as a true diehard, before we move forward, I mean, obviously you said it's confusing, but what does this feel like to see them throwing around so many dollars? And yes, it did take a little bit of hurdle, did take a little bit of hopping over, but we're talking about 10 plus years of negotiating with Oakland.
Yeah.
What does this kind of feel like in terms of just watching at this point? I mean, from what it sounds like, the A's are planning to ramp up their payroll. Yeah. They're planning to basically become a new team.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like as the owner, Fisher, he wanted to get out of Oakland.
Yeah.
Which is understandable in some ways. It's not the fans. It's kind of just the surrounding city and what's going on around in the Bay Area, especially in that area.
Yep.
It's already not a dope spot to be in. There's homelessness. There's a lot of
straight up.
It stinks over there. No offense. That's our home. But we can acknowledge what's the good and what's the bad.
Yep.
And that area was not conducive and not good for money making in terms of facilities. I mean, you had muddy water. You had like sewer water river right there next to the stadium. You know what I mean? So I think he just really wanted to get out of there as an owner and maybe turn that into residential area and boost it up, but then also be winning off the greatness of what Las Vegas can bring for your franchise, as he's probably seen with the Las Vegas Knights, with the Aces, with the Vegas Raiders. It's just it's basically starting over.
Yep.
So it's like, hey, now that we have everything new, brand new, let's do the smart thing and start spending some money.
Yep. That's real. I mean, that's a great way to kind of look at it. And to be honest, as a person who obviously grew up with the Raiders and knows them, there's nobody better to take the opinion from in terms of just not only the field, but how you kind of cope, right? How you deal with it. And that's being real, right? And understanding the lay of the land. They still shorted Oakland.
Mm-hmm.
They still shorted the fans, no doubt about it. But, it is clear that if they weren't going to be able to get to Jack London or a nicer area, that is a tough place to sell. I mean, it's even harder to sell than some of those stadiums that are in LA because even those neighborhoods are surrounded by wealthy places, right? Whereas deep East Oakland,
gutter.
That's it. There's nothing else, right? So good luck, Severino. Good luck. Maybe we'll see you in SAC. I'm sure I'm going to see a game or two. So depending on how long you last.
Go up and see our boy Eric.
Yeah.
Go to one of them SAC
games. Maybe we'll do a show in SAC after we do it. That'd be lit. But let's move on real fast to the last bit we have on our show today. We have, unless there's anything else you want to do. Okay. We have NCAA football. This is a weird one. Big rumors swirling. Belichick potentially to USC after Mac Brown has been fired or stepped down or resigned, however we want to look at it. And there's big rumors that he is doing his due diligence on the game of college football, which clearly never gets done without thinking about potentially entering in. I just want to ask you, we don't have to stick on this too long. One, do you think that he could be successful in college? And two, what do you think that would look like? A Bill Belichick with a college program?
I think he's looking at the landscape of how things are breaking down right now and how he's really seeing how now college football is a lot closer to NFL life in terms of like now having all the NIL money being moved around. And he's already been a GM as well for a Super Bowl franchise. So I feel like he can really bring his coaching and still be tough on young guys, even the ones who are making money because he's dealt with guys who make a lot of money.
Right.
I mean, you're yelling at Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Dude is not holding back against Tom Brady. So
and that is the clear.
If you're somebody who's going to go to his program, you're not saying shit.
Right.
So he knows he'll have that power. He knows how to recruit and get money from other people, from just alumni, everything. Anybody from North Carolina, Tobacco Road, is okay, 100% okay with throwing some money your way if Bill Belichick is the coach of your team.
Immediately.
Chapel Hill will become a football place as well.
That NIL money will be crazy.
NIL money, he'll be getting that nonstop.
That's such a good point.
I think him understanding, how to allocate the money to certain players and get them to understand that I don't give a damn if you are making $5 million. I'm still going to get the best out of you.
Right.
And you're still going to follow this program.
Right.
It's going to be like a no-nonsense type of thing, and that works a lot better in college than it does in pros.
Right.
But like I said, just like now with the new NIL stuff, I feel like the coaching's already there.
Yeah.
And now the understanding of how to deal with players who are now making the money.
Yeah.
He's somebody who can make a seamless transition and somebody I feel like who could get a lot of recruits too.
Yeah. No, I think that was the best way you could have summarized that, honestly, just because I think it's so spot on. I wasn't even really thinking the NIL, but I think that the NIL goes in both directions, right? Mm-hmm. Where it's like not only can he be getting boosters to give NIL, but I think also he's going to have that Coach Prime effect, right? Which is like, you might not even be that dope. Mm-hmm. And if you rock with me, I'm getting you a commercial.
Yeah.
I'm getting you NIL in a different way, excuse me. And I think he's the type where he can help rebrand players. And nowadays with the NIL and with the new college, players are their own brand. They're walking in looking for that, And then the other part that he brought up that I think is really great is maybe the pedigree will be the perfect counter to the wild, wild west of the NIL world, right? And maybe the fact that he knows what he knows and that he's a Hall of Famer. And the reality is he's taught the GOAT and he's yelled at the GOAT. Mm-hmm. Maybe those are the type of things that pierce through these money barriers that we're now starting to see where it's separating coaches from kids, right? And so I think that that's a great point. And now that he's brought that up, I actually, because at first I think I was going to say he would do terribly. But I think that's just because I'm thinking about dry Bill on a college campus and the fact that I don't see a lick of youth in him. Right. And so, like, being around.
Besides the chicks that he's with.
Right. 100%. That's not in him. He's in them. You know what I'm saying? So, you get what I'm saying?
Little big.
But now that you bring that up, I actually think that'd be very valid because it could give a good push and pull effect of like, yeah, I'm going to pull you in to this school that you may not have been considering because it's me.
Yeah.
And then you're going to stay and you're going to work hard because of who I am. Right. And so, yeah, I love that. Lastly, before we get done today, and by the way, UNC, you guys will be blessed. You know, I'm big UNC. You guys will be blessed if you get that. You guys will be blessed. I don't know how much money it'll take. Like he said, the boosters will have to be coming out of the woodworks.
Yeah.
But if you get him locked up, Mitch is right. That is the one coach who could make you a football program immediately. So
they got money on Tobacco Road.
They do.
They got money.
They do. Old money. WNBA is the last thing we're going to touch on. I know you guys are a little less familiar with that. But like we said, we're adding them to the rotation. Big V's is in the house. And as they come for their inaugural first season, we're going to make sure we have them covered from top to bottom. So real fast, I just want to give a quick alert about what has happened recently. You may have seen, you may have not, but Jewel Lloyd, due to the issues with the Storm coaching staff, which she actually is the player now that it's been released. She was the player that got them all investigated.
Okay.
So nobody knew what had happened, but a player had reported that there was bullying, all types of stuff going on with the coaching staff. Ended up getting them fully investigated. The investigation came back that said, like, we didn't see nothing. And so Jewel Lloyd was like, all right, well, I'm out. Valkyries. This is the perfect opportunity. I don't know if she'll end up in an expansion draft, and I'm sure she wants to be in a place where she can be winning. But the reality is when you get a player like that who's hurt, there can be some love in being loved, right? And so she may like the idea of coming to a team where she's the bona fide superstar. She is the if and but, the everything, the omega. It ends there. And after what she dealt with the Storm, with all those players, and basically them bringing in players to play with her, and it just didn't work out. Kind of reminded me of that Laker team. Just too many stars, not enough real game planning. We could have a shot, and that would be insane for a first year because rarely are players like that available when an expansion team is coming up.
Yeah.
So just wanted to make sure I highlighted that. And for those of you, you know what I mean, like I said prior in this show, if you guys haven't checked out the season tickets, please do. It's hard to get into Chase.
Right.
So I'm trying to give you guys quicker little outlets to getting in there without feeling like you got to break the bank. And then lastly, I would say that the mock draft for us, we're going to keep you guys up to date as we get closer to it. We're going to be fifth, and we'll maintain that. But it has us getting Lauren Betts from UCLA, who's a center, 6'7", transfer from Stanford. Would be a great building block to start with. Anything you got to say on the big V's?
Natalie Nakase, the coach, she's pretty solid. She was a former Aces assistant, so I'm excited to see her. I think she'll be a good, solid coach for them, especially starting out in their inaugural season.
Yep.
And then hopefully, it's not too rough on us, but we are going to be a new team, and hopefully that means we get Juju next draft.
Say that.
And we get the LeBron of WNBA coming to us, and that's going to be even more exciting. So,
and I'll already have season tickets. Prices won't go up on me.
Right. Exactly.
But yeah, I think that's perfect. And the only other thing I'd highlight before we get out of here is, if you don't know, Joe Lacob owns the team.
Yeah, so he's gonna spend. He'll get us.
My boy understands. He has
Come
good
on, girls.
Yeah, he has good
Come
wrist.
play for the Valks.
Yeah. He has good wrist integrity. Let's say that. He's got dexterity in these. You know what I'm saying? So he'll be spending, and he loves winning. And it's almost fitting to say, Oakland, if you really wanted to do all of us right, you would have sold that team to Joe Lacob.
Right? Come on. We'd still be in probably San Francisco, but
right. Or Jack London. Joe Lacob would have copped Jack London. He'd be like, he'd be like, I had to buy the whole thing. Plank's gone. All these things are gone. This is now just A's territory.
Plank, you gotta go. No,
but the fact that they had an out like that is the only reason I bring it up. Is like the fact that Joe Lacob was actually money ready.
Yeah.
Let me cop. That's the only thing that I want to end the show on is there's a lot of what ifs for Oakland. Like, it wasn't like it had to be a sinking ship. It wasn't like Fisher had to drown him out like that just to get somewhere else. He could have given it up, and somebody would have taken that project and actually made something of it.
Yeah.
So without further ado, I hope you guys feel like we covered a lot, because I feel like we covered a lot. Mm-hmm. And next week, we're going to have even more. And as we get closer and closer to the baseball season, we will have a fantasy baseball special for you. Yes, my boy's going to be leading that. And if you guys were around for the last one, I was winning off of that. You know what I mean? So I won 3 out of the 4 of my leagues. And it was a lot of chatter, a lot of talk going on prior about him pointing out players, him keeping me up to date on the season. So I really suggest, if you're going to play fantasy baseball this year,
tap in.
All right? So peace, love, and happiness from the Say Something fam. We're going to jump out of here so we can get back to our self-care. But we hope y'all are having a great, great Thursday, and we'll see y'all next week.